Marcellus from the Midas Touch Network. Donald Trump just posted a completely disgusting and very dangerous video of himself on his social media platform. It purports to respond to the January 6th committee's report, but what it really does is spread dangerous conspiracy theories about the January 6th committee, about the January 6th insurrection. In the video, Donald Trump threatens the life of Special Counsel Jack Smith, Jack Smith's family, and Jack Smith friends, who are all called out on the video. And on the video, Donald Trump further incriminates himself by admitting that he stole government records and brought it to the weird resort home he lives on in Mar-a-Lago. We're going to play you a clip from the video that Donald Trump released. We're not going to show you the full video. I'm just going to show you some of the highlights, or should I say disgusting lowlights from the video, and then I'm going to comment on the various things that Donald Trump says. Let me play this video first of this complete traitor, of this complete disgrace, of this complete abomination to our country, and then let's talk about it after. Play the clip.
Pushed an absurd and discredited story where I supposedly lunged for the steering wheel in an attempt to commandeer a presidential limousine. Think of it. I lunged for a steering wheel, and they believe that story. Nobody believes that story. The committee barely even discussed the catastrophic security failures at the Capitol, and they didn't discuss the other thing, the reason that everybody went there, the election, which was a corrupt disaster. They did not discuss why the doors were flung wide open for people to walk right in, and they didn't discuss the role of federal informants. These are sick people. These are Marxists, and they're very dangerous and very bad people. The Boxes hoax, where if you take a look at that one, they raided Mar-a-Lago, and under the Presidential Records Act, they're not allowed to do that. And then if you look at the Clinton Socks case, it's a total victory for all presidents that leave the White House with things. So that's another hoax, a big hoax. And they put a major Trump hater, and his family is a major Trump hater, and his friends are all Trump haters, and he's in charge of this investigation. The people aren't going to stand for it.
Completely and utterly disgusting what we just watched there. When I watched that, I thought to myself, this individual is a clear and present danger to our democracy. That individual is a complete and utter traitor. Shame on the Republican Party for still hoisting that disgusting cult leader to be the leader of their party. And frankly, shame on the media as well for covering their eyes and closing their ears to that clear and present danger. Not here on the Midas Touch Network. We are going to call that out. We are going to expose it. And we collectively, as part of this pro-democracy movement, are going to shut that down. Let's talk about some of the things Donald Trump said there. He said it was a completely discredited story about him lunging at a Secret Service agent where he wanted himself to storm the Capitol, pretending to be this wannabe dictator and show up and try to declare that he's the winner. No, we have multiple confirmation points from other Secret Service agents that took place. I know Tony Ornato, who used to be part of the Secret Service, who at first tried to lie to the January 6th committee, tried to cover this all up for you. But after Cassidy Hutchinson's courageous testimony, we have multiple points of confirmation that that indeed took place. And then you go on to spread more deranged and dangerous conspiracies about January 6th. And you go on to say more and more and more of the same stuff you said before, trying to say that the election was rigged and that the election was stolen. You lost every single one of the federal cases that you filed, including cases that were in front of judges who you appointed. In fact, there was many judges who you appointed who these cases were in front of. And not only did you lose these federal cases, You lost in such a way that many of your attorneys have now been disciplined or lost their law licenses as a result, or are facing disciplinary proceedings, or have been sanctioned. And you know who else actually appeared before the January 6th committee? I know that you are such a big coward, despite your lawyer, Alina Habba, saying, I think Donald Trump's going to show up, or Sarah Palin said, he has nothing to hide, he's going to show up. We know what a coward you are. We know when you appeared in front of New York Attorney General Letitia James and she asked you the most basic questions. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. She was asking you what the valuation of your properties were, and you were too cowardly and too chicken to even answer those questions, so you had to plead the fifth. You want to act like a tough guy, you can't even state what the valuation of your property is when you were cross-examined. But you fled from the January 6th committee because you were too cowardly. But you know who did testify? People like Pat Cipollone, people like Patrick Philbin, your top White House lawyers, people like Eric Hirschman, a lawyer in the White House, people like Bill Barr, people like Mark Short, the former chief of staff to former Vice President Pence, people like Greg Jacob, the former general counsel to former Vice President Pence, people like Cassidy Hutchinson and others. Mostly all of the witnesses were Republicans, and Republicans who worked for you in the White House, who all said that everything you tried to spread was completely and utterly false and fabricated by you. And now with the release of the January 6th committee report, we are learning from lots of people who even said that you told them that you know that you're lost. You're one big cowardly fraud traitor. That is who you are. And then you pivot and you start talking about Jack Smith and your theft of government records. You literally admit in that video that you stole government records, yet you keep going back to the Clinton Socks case, basically something that stands for the exact opposite proposition that you cited for. It just shows what a fraud and how intellectually dishonest you are, that you talk about a Clinton Socks case as though it's some sort of Supreme Court precedent or any precedent at all. The Clinton Socks case that you referenced is a completely frivolous lawsuit brought by Tom Fenton, who's not a lawyer. It's brought by his organization, which sued the National Archives around 2012 to try to compel Bill Clinton from turning over notes relating to his autobiography, his personal autobiography, and his personal notes, where the National Archives had already determined that those were personal. The National Archives believed those were personal records, not government records, not presidential records. And what that stands for, the proposition of the case, is that Fenton filed a frivolous lawsuit. What it stands for is the proposition that a private citizen cannot sue the National Archives to try to compel someone from turning over their own personal notes from their presidency in the 1990s. Tom Fenton's lawsuit got dismissed by Judge Amy Berman Jackson. Yet you cite this, oh, it's the Socks case, it's the Socks case. You are not allowed to steal government records. And all of the crimes you're being investigated for, the Espionage Act, obstruction, mutilation of documents, also has nothing to do with the classification of the documents. And the National Archives gave you every single out to try to turn over these records. Yet you lied and lied and lied. And Christina Bobb, your lawyer or custodian of records, signed a declaration back on June 3rd of this year to the Department of Justice with this red weld saying all documents are returned. Here are all your top secret documents, which again was an utter lie, causing the Department of Justice, after years of dealing with your lies, to get a search warrant, a lawful search warrant. Judge Eileen Cannon, your appointed stooge, she's been overruled. You tried to make all those Socks arguments there, and you lost in front of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals and the United States Supreme Court because you're a loser. Everything you say is false. Everything you say is gaslighting. Everything you say is fabricated. That is your entire life and the entire life of those who support you. It's just one big gaslight and one big freaking lie. And now let's get to the last part here, which is sickening, where you threaten Jack Smith. And you say that Jack Smith's family is major Trump haters. You talk about Jack Smith's friends. You talk about Jack Smith's family. And to use your words exactly, You say people aren't going to stand for this. We know what that means. We know what you are trying to convey to your dwindling violent supporter base when you say people are not going to stand for this. We know that you want to incite more violence. We know that you want to incite more insurrection. We know that all you want to do is dox people. It is completely disgusting, completely despicable, and frankly, that video, in my opinion, reflects another count of obstruction that you absolutely should be charged with. I can't wait for the day, and I believe it will be coming soon. I believe it will be coming in the next 6 months. There are some people who have more experience at the Department of Justice than I do, far more, like Preet Bharara, who believes the indictment will be coming in January. My timeline is more April or May, but I can't wait for that trial. When all of these videos are played for the jury, when all of your social media posts that we talk about here on the MeidasTouch Network are played for the jury, and they see what a disgusting criminal traitor you are, and you are thrown in jail for the rest of your life like you deserve. You are a disgrace to this country. You are a disgrace to our democracy, and I look forward to you being held accountable. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. And in addition to subscribing here, please check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We have lots of exclusive content you can only get at our Patreon site, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. But most importantly, we're not funded by any outside investors, so help grow this independent media platform. And please, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. It's free to subscribe. Help us get to 1 million subscribers. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.